Welcome back, everyone. So, today we're going to be talking about sewing lessons and growing confidence, whether you are a new learner or you're someone who's been in the business for a minute, but you're learning new techniques. So, let's start out with learning new techniques.
I guess I'll start. It's exciting learning new techniques. Of course, sometimes it's a little frustrating because you don't get it right the first time. But once you get it, it makes your workflow so much easier. So I always look for quicker ways to do things that I already know how to do. So like saying, for example, like a fly zipper. I just saw like I think it was a short. Just somebody did it like in 5 seconds. But I saw the way I was like, oh, that's a quicker way of doing it. And then I geek out over press a feet because it makes your job so much easier. So I just did a tutorial, honestly, on my YouTube channel on Cover Me Chic, and someone mentioned, how easy it was because I used to use a roller foot, and they didn't know about it. So that gives me like I'm happy about sharing what I know, and it makes their job easier. But it's just like that is my go-to. I mean, I do if I can do everything like that, that's what I do.
It's so funny because in my classes, we always joke about how much I love gadgets and I'm always getting the latest gadget. And they're so excited when they find something. I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy one. As an educator, too, I also have to sometimes stop myself from doing shortcuts that I know that help me work because I want them to learn. I want them to go through the trenches before they start adding these shortcuts. But every now and then, I'll slip a little shortcut in there. And my favorite one is teaching them how to put their pocket on the quarter inch so it'll go down inside their garment. They love that one. But we haven't really gotten into the feet. I did explain to them like what a walk-in foot was, what a roller foot does, but they are not really working with like denim and the heavier fabric. But I don't know, over the summer they might get a rolled hem or something.
It's really interesting because when you learn a quick technique, it's one thing, but when you're teaching someone, when you actually are a sewing educator, you realize just how much you know, but also you realize the excitement of them getting it and sharing that. It's like, yes, they got it. They got it. It's one thing to do a demonstration, but when your student actually comes over and they're ecstatic about they finally got that invisible zipper foot correct, it's really beneficial. It really helps and encourages us educators that we're making a difference with that. And I also realized the more times I teach it, the better I get at it. Because when I was teaching, let's say the flat pattern, and I'm teaching them dart manipulations, and they're having to re-explain it over and over and over again. When I actually did it, I can literally hear myself, and it's one of the things of when you become an educator and you're having to actually do this, you learn it. You learn it so much more.
Just to tag on to what you said, Tish, it's just like when you teach it, you learn it better. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to explain it in such like a step by step, and you get better at it. So it's not just the student learning, it's you learning as well. So it's like, and you find quicker ways of doing it when you are teaching. So you have to be very concise and very, as simple as possible.
Most people are visual learners, so even just as quick as my last class, I was telling them, if the words don't make sense, look at the picture, and if the picture doesn't make sense, think about it a little bit. Think about what the picture is looking like and what the words are telling you, because they did tell me, sometimes the words don't make sense. And I said, well, let me introduce you to this little thing on your sewing pattern called the glossary. The students that I have now weren't really taught on commercial patterns, and so they don't know that these things exist. I was like, it tells you what all of these notches and darts and grain lines and all of that is for, but since they didn't get their previous lesson through me, they didn't get it the way I teach it. So when you come to my advanced sewing class, I don't expect to have to teach you what a notch is. You should have learned that in the class before mine. But once they get it, they get it, because I told them that the way I explain it is I tell them you are putting together a puzzle, and those notches are your puzzle pieces, and if they don't fit, your puzzle is not going to lay flat and be pretty, and you'll have wasted your time. So
It's a 3D puzzle.
It's a 3D puzzle. So getting back to the sewing lessons, and since you're talking about the students, what's a heartwarming student story?
I have so many because I've done kids and adults. I think for me, one of the best stories I have is when one of my kids, you know what pants look like as a flat piece. And she was just so confused. She was probably about 8 or 9, and she just couldn't figure out how this piece, this giant piece of thing was going to make pants. And when she put the first leg together, she squealed, and I mean screeched, squealed, because she was like, oh my God, I can see it. I can see it. I'm going to have pants. I'm going to have pants. I want to, and that to you is just like that heartwarming moment. And then for my adults, I had one of them send me an email, and she says, hey, I'm working on my project at home, and I'm a little bit nervous, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, here's what you do. Read the pattern. She came to class wearing her garment. She said, I finished it. I got my zipper, and she wears everything. So we try to complete a garment a week, and she comes in, and whatever she made the previous week, she's going to wear to class the next week. And it just warms my heart that she's so excited about these things that she's made herself. And so I like that aspect of it. Those are my two. I have a myriad of heartwarming stories, but those are two that first jump into mind.
I think it's more personal. When I did a teaching thing for my nieces and nephews. They were all, I was at the time all under the age of 10. It's like once they finished everybody's like, oh look, it's just like the pride that everybody has after they finish it. So it was just like, I love when they finished everything. It's just like, I did this. It's and they take ownership, and they take pride, and they want to share, and they want to do more. It's like, okay, what's next? I want to make clothes now. I think we made a bag the first time, so I did promise them I was going to do something, so I have to hold my end of the bargain. But that's the first thing that came to mind. Well, you know what, I did take my niece was really, really into it, and she came over and we made a skirt. I mean, she wore her skirt home.
Great. That's great. So my heartwarming story would be, I'll say, one that has to do with notches. So I was teaching a product development class. Now in the class there are maybe juniors, some seniors, and I had brought in a factory owner to make their samples. It's like, hey, they're going to make your samples. Hope you and your tech packs and your patterns. You need to have a consultation. Talk to her. We're going to pay her, and she's going to bring it back. So I told her, don't ask no questions. Follow the patterns they gave you in the tech bag. Some of it came back in pieces. Guess why? It didn't have notches. She was like, I didn't know what it went to. I say, it's okay, because now they're going to learn why I keep saying notches. So that's for those students. For the sewing students, seeing them, because it's one thing to see a student really struggle with sewing straight, and I have to tell them, don't look down at your sewing or at your hands, because they're like looking at the needle. I'm like, no, look at the edge of the fabric. Don't look at the needle, because you're gonna sew your finger. And one of them did, but her stitch was straight.
I tell them it's battle scars. It's just battle scars. It's the art of war with your sewing machine. Can you call yourself a true sewist if you haven't sewn your finger at least one time?
I've stuck myself. I haven't sewn my finger.
I did, and it's weird. It doesn't hurt until you take it out. When you take it out, you're like, "Wow, that really hurt." I forgot. See, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me, but we won't go into further details about it. It doesn't bother me.
I will say there's one thing about it. It wasn't a sewing lesson, but it was tambour beating. And I took a class with my professor from grad. And when I learned the technique, I was like, oh, wait, this is like crochet. Oh my goodness, it's the same stitch. But how about adapting the teaching for kids versus adults?
People really look at me funny when I say that I prefer teaching kids, and it is nothing against adults. The biggest difference is you get adults, and sometimes they are set in a way, they think they know more. I've sewn back in the year one, and now I'm just refreshing, so I can do it so I can do it my way, and that's the difference. But I think for me, the biggest thing I like about teaching kids is once you find out that there is a kid that you have that's really into it and you start to nurture them and watch them develop, you think about it and you can be like, oh my God, one day I'm going to be seeing that kid on a project runway or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I taught that kid how to sew. They probably don't remember me, but I taught that kid how to sew. But I think the biggest difference also is projects. Like I'm teaching kids like basics. They making pajama pants. These adults are doing buttons and zippers and lining, and we're doing raglan sleeves on a bomber jacket, and I'm introducing knits and stuff like that. And you don't really get that with kids, because you gotta spend a half hour just getting them to settle. But it's funny because a lot of my adults are not as fearless as the kids either. The kids will cut into a piece of fabric. Them adults gotta come. Can you look at it? Can you make sure I laid it out right? Oh my God, I didn't cut it at home because I was so nervous. I'm like, you're a grown up, just cut it. Just cut it. I tell them all the time, use cheap fabric and cut it. If you're uncomfortable, buy muslin and cut it. You don't have to cut into your fabric. Just do it. Like you waste so much time coming into class to cut something out. It's a waste of time. But I'm working on them.
I'm kind of the opposite. I enjoy doing teaching my nieces and nephews because it's like a relationship, and it's like, oh, auntie, da, da, da. But I prefer teaching adults because it's just like, okay, we know why we're here. I don't have to settle you. If you don't want to learn, you can leave. I like efficiency, so everything that I do is like very efficient, and I've trained my mind to teach efficiently. So it saves time. We don't have to fiddle with stuff. We don't have to, second guess everything. So it's just like you can be very direct with adults. They understand the assignment.
I will tell you, as a client, this is not your ministry. Perhaps maybe you should try knitting or something, because sewing is not your ministry. And I would rather do that. That I feel bad if I'm to keep taking your money, and I know that it's something you're not going to excel at. We all have our strengths. If sewing is not your strength, I will gently let you know. I've even told parents that this ain't for her. They also have to get over this myth that sewing is cheaper. Sewing is not cheaper.
I mean, at a time it was, because fabric was less expensive. With all the stuff that's going on now, it really isn't. Because sourcing the raw goods is not cheap at all. And the time it takes to do it, it's not. But I mean, they will last longer. Your clothes will definitely last longer when you make them.
I teach high school and some high school students, but mostly college students that are actually in a program for fashion design. So they want to be there and they want to learn. Is it easy? No, because they are still kids. Though technically, the law says, oh, they're adults, but no, they're teens, they're kids. I'm able to begin to set them up on, hey, do it this way, because I'm doing the demonstration like that, and I've broken it up where I'm showing the demonstration. They have pieces of it, so they're literally learning this the way that I'm teaching. They don't have any bad habits just yet. But I have also told them I have my degree. I'm trying to teach you how to get yours. So you might want to listen. Plus, I'm grading it. So on that note, we're going to end with I'm Letitia from Keeping You in Stitches, along with
Zahia from Cover Me Chic.
And Naima from Fearless Threads.
See you next time.